Hey gang, what's good? Welcome back to Pillars of Eternity. Here we are at Cragholt Manor? Consulhaut's place? We just slayed him. He was an old asshole. Look, he even resided in a big evil-looking chair. I mean, come on. If you have a chair with a backing that tall, I mean, that's kind of like, one of the surefire signs that you're kind of an evil asshole, right?
Ready when you are.
Anyway, let's head on in here and investigate the rest of these weird podiums, check out these big library columns, and then we'll have words with, what's her butt over here, Auriki. And then, I guess we'll head on out to Canua Rest Up, and then we'll do a bit of reading to round this out. Alright, well, I say a bit of reading, a lot of reading! Anyway, let's see, did we read this one? The book contains a list of names. Oh yeah, we read that one. But this one, the rust-red figures on this scroll look as though they were written in blood.
Yeah?
What about in here? Let's see. The moons of Eora. Huh. Oh yeah, did we ever read about them? Because we know of their existence thanks to, what's their name? Thanks to old White March area with Andra and all that, right? Because they were relevant to, look, it even says Andra. Alright, let's read this. Yeah, I guess we're going to be doing some reading here. Reading heavy, video today. Look into the night sky, and you'll see the moon, Balafa. Ubiquitous and persistent. She remains forever in view, but also forever out of reach. What many people do not know, however, is that our world is actually orbited by two moons, Balafa and Kalda. Maybe we have read this, because let's keep going. Balafa. Hanging low and large in the sky, Balafa travels swiftly in her race around the world, completing an orbit in about 18 days. This proximity and speed can cause extreme tide conditions in some areas, making the seas shift so quickly and rise so high that there are some beautiful coastal areas that are virtually uninhabitable for a good portion of the year. I wonder if that'll be very relevant in Deadfire. Anyway, before we learned the truth behind the cause of the tides, legend held that Andra, the goddess of the sea, was in love with the moon, and when she saw it in the sky, the tides, great waves, and violent storms that happened were her attempts to reach it. This is why the moon is formally called Senbalafa or Andranbalafa, the beloved, or Andra's beloved. Kalda. 315 years ago, the great empire of Valia suffered from terrible storms and terrifyingly high and low tides. Records show the same thing was happening in the Eder Empire, and that several new Ediran colonies along the Deerwood coast were completely destroyed by storms and high tides that engulfed the settlements. At that time, during an eclipse, Glanfathan astronomers spotted something small orbiting near the edge of Balafa. After much study, they realized it was a small satellite with an extremely irregular orbit. They called it Kaldha Deb, or the Black Runner. Since it is smaller than Balafa, it doesn't have much effect on the world, but when it aligns with Balafa's orbit, it wreaks havoc on the tides and weather everywhere. This happens with an erratic frequency and severity and have been dubbed Lover's Tides. Kaldha has been rolled into the Andra myth, and when they are both in sight, her desire to reach them is increased tenfold, which is what causes the terrible weather. We may have read that. I'm not too sure, but I feel like it may as well, right?
Yeah?
I feel like that's an interesting book to include there. Maybe in the event that like you're a higher level Team Watcher, and you've come here after doing a lot of the main quest already, because, like obviously, I bought this game when the expansions and stuff were already out, so maybe you were a person who loaded a save before a big point of no return, and you have already a high-level party, and you just come here first, because this is obviously an area still in the Deerwood. So then this gives you a chance to read a book that alludes to future, not even future things that happen, but just little hints of, like, what's to come in the White March, right? Anyway, let's check out this giant tower of books. Right, this is another one of these little interactions. The shelves of this bookcase overflow with books, loose pages, and miscellaneous artifacts. Many of the spines you can see are scrawled with indecipherable glyphs, and more are completely blank. A proper search of this mess would probably take hours. Oh, right, that's the same description as before. Fair enough. All right. Find a bag in a pile at the bottom of the shelf. It rips and spills gems into your hand as you pick it up. Oh. Hours of searching leave your back aching and your eyes sore. You don't find anything else of value. Okay. And that, although it does say that, it doesn't actually fatigue us at all. Instead, we got 20 bloodstone. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah?
All right, what's on his desk? Oh shit, an eye. A sky dragon eye. How the fuck did he get that? Look at all this, a whole bunch of stuff. Crackling bolt. Of course he has some high requirements there on that shit. Store all that. Let's read these things. Aethasian prayer. Let's see. Huh, interesting that he'd be reading about Aethys. Do you think he was an Aethasian? And the sun shall break through the darkness, the new dawn arriving with the rebirth of the day. Rejoice, all ye who dwelleth in the shadow, who are broken and beaten. The winter soon comes to an end. Spring shall rise, bringing light and life to the world. Radiant light, radiant life. And thy soul shall find warmth in his arms. All creatures bask in his glory. The rays of his countenance bathe the world, bringing an end to the night, ushering in the day. Kneel before him and wonder at his benevolence. Feel the warmth of his radiant presence. If thou art broken, he shall make thee whole. If thou art darkness, he shall bring thee to the light. If thou art sinful, thou shalt be reborn. If thou art cold, his warmth shall bolster thee. How canst I, so lowly and worn, speak words of proper adulation? Thine eyes, whose gaze sees the sin in me yet, still shows love. Thine hands, whose grip pulls me out of darkness. Thine ears, listening to my every prayer. Thine heart, bright as the dawn, giving me warmth when I am raw. Aethys, light of spring, sun of the world, thou givest me life and purpose. If thine heart be black, if thine intention be impure, thy life is forfeit. For he hath seen, he can see, he will see. Nothing is hidden from his glory. His light touches every corner of the world. Nothing is hidden from his sight. If thou dost thy work in the dark, if thou wouldst keep thine actions hidden, thou shalt be burned in the sun of the new dawn. Day comes soon. Prepare for the dawn. Nothing is hidden from his reach. Ironic that there's so much talk about being warm when he got fucking blown up, right? They fucking blew him up with the Godhammer bomb, right? Old fucking Durance himself. Jeez. Also interesting are the ties to Woodica, Woodica, in that, let's see here. Yeah, nothing is hidden from his glory, nothing is hidden from his sight. Because that's a lot, there are some lines to be drawn between Aethys and Woodica there, right? Because she has a lot of bullshit about how you can't hide something. She never forgets. All of, like, your bullshit that you've tried to pull in life, Woodica never forgets that shit, and she's always pissed as hell. Something along those lines. Alright, let's see. Let's grab that. Missives of the Hand Occult. Let's see, what is this? Is this one we've read? I don't think so. Dearest brother, or was it sister? May this letter find you in well spirits. A man of thuggish bearing stormed into my library. Oh, this is like a real-ass letter thing. Into my library the other day, and demanded I help him find a book on the construction of an arquebus. I thought it proper service to Whale to steer this man toward an illuminated manuscript on the subject of whittling toy soldiers and other miniature props. Unamused by my solution, I shrugged and said, "What is an answer without a question?" He did not find my spiritual rhetoric helpful or amusing, and so he punched out 2 of my teeth. I trust your summer has been less tumultuous than mine. In more important news, my apprentice claims she saw the eyeless face, oh shit, in a dream the other night. I admit I was so mad with envy that at first I refused to believe her. Well, forgive me for such a lapse of judgment. She described an Almawa of brilliant blue hues with a featureless face surrounded by a swarm of eyes. No two eyes alike. That doesn't sound like the eyeless dudes that we fought. She claims Whale ignored her questions, and she can't recall any specifics of what was said. In fact, my apprentice seems to have forgotten many things since before the visitation. She could not tell me where she grew up or what she liked to eat. Oh, this also alludes to events that occurred in the White March, right? At first, I was so envious of her for having seen Whale with her own eyes, but it seems Whale's visit was to conceal, not to illuminate. This sounds familiar now. I pray she endures this test of faith and can look back at the event and feel the joy of mystery. What is an answer without a question? Last week, I felt the solution was ignorance. But after Whale's visit, I feel a road without length is closer to capturing the riddle. I worry my apprentice will look back at her visit from Whale and feel cheated, robbed of some moment of clarity we all thought we were owed when we first joined. I tried to tell her she was lucky, but she was too young to understand. What is an answer without a question? May I be dead and my soul scattered to the winds before anyone knows for certain. Wow. Yeah, that one did seem vaguely familiar in the last part, at least. Anyway, we got another Sky Dragon eye. Holy shit. Sky Dragons are said to have almost supernatural vision, able to pick out the tiniest prey from far above the ground. Though clouded now with death, the iris of this massive eye retains a vibrant green-gold sheen. Man, I wonder how huge it is. Must be gigantic, like a big old fucking eyeball.
Yeah?
Geez, some wizards are satisfied with an eye of newt.
Hey.
Not old console hot, apparently. Let's see, what does this chair say? This fabric is as smooth as lambskin and softer than most beds.
Yeah?
Huh. Yeah, I guess he never really got out of his chair much. Too bad there's not like a spell for unlimited comfort, huh? Alright, let's see, what do we have? Yep, yada yada, proper search. As you shove a pile of books to one side, something clinks onto the floor. You retrieve a ring. Hours of searching, okay, yeah. Ring of deflection. Just a ring of deflection?
Just say the word.
Alright. Let's see, what does this say? This book burns your hands when you touch it. Jeez! The clay tablet is ancient, and most of the symbols inscribed upon it are indecipherable. Alright. This book okay, wow.
Ready when you
burning
are.
book. Jeez and Pete. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to fight our way out of here because of these assholes, aren't we?
If secrets whisper
Jeez, I hope
here,
Eureka
shall
isn't
listen
mad.
for them.
Eureka, you were my only friend in this terrible, cruel manor. I hope we can leave on some sort of good terms.
Hey.
Alright, Eder. Shields up, baby. Give him the good stuff, everybody. Power up. Let's see, I'll unleash a big-time shot on this Void Seer. Pelagina, nuke him.
Your thought.
Endurance, let's see. Give us a nice big buff. Alright. Let's see, Aloth, lay down some cold in the back. Mama's sad. I need you to do some bouncing blades.
Yeah.
Finish that dude off. Let's see. Looks like I can already switch targets. Jeez. A bouncing sort of electric shot has been fucking thrown on us. Alright. Let's see, let's have our melee switch to range temporarily. And have everyone get on this one last dude.
My mind feels.
There we go. Man, nailing him. Nice. Great. Alright, let's have everybody swap back.
I'm ready.
Alright, dope. Let's see, what's on it? Vessel Bone and Peridot. I wonder what the Peridot is
Ready
for.
when you are.
I would say for their eyes, but I don't know. There was only one Peridot each, right? Alright, let's quick save here. Man, I hope we don't have to fight Uriki. If we do, maybe I'll just leave through the caves area, because remember we unlocked that down there? Jeez, this shit's taking forever to leave. Oh, because we don't have super speed on. There we go, super speed. There we are.
Not a problem.
Nice. Alright, let's see. Uriki, are you going to be mad as shit when I come on up here? Let's see. Let's quick save, just in case Uriki, or... Uriki? Auriki? I don't know. In case she's mad. If she's mad, we're just going to quick load. That way we don't have to kill her. I mean, she may have some woot loot, all things considered. Oh, look, these fucking guys back there are going to try and chase us down, aren't they? Hey, Uriki! I killed him! I killed Console Hot! Do you have anything to say about that? I've slain him!
I don't believe it. You killed Consulhot. I had nothing to do with any of that, of course.
Yeah, you had nothing to do with that. What are you going to do now? I'm going to continue my research. Perhaps Consulhot has some lore in his library that could prove useful. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must get back to work. Oh, wow, she's very fucking dedicated. Alright, Uriki, sure, you can do that. I'll leave you be. I respect that. We have a mutual understanding of respect. We're going to come out here and just kill a few of these skulls. Don't mind us. You know, just doing what we do. Alright, let's see. Let's stun this thing. There we go. Swap weapons. Do an actual real-ass powered shot. Except Pallegina also nuked the crap out of it. Pallegina can't even get up in there. There we go.
My mind.
Ah, there we go. Didn't even need the nuke from old Pallegina. Let's see.
I'm ready.
Hey.
Alright, yeah, I guess she really doesn't give a fucking damn about what we're doing back here. Just blowing up skulls and blowing up wizards and shit. Jeez. Now, I'm expecting, remember when we got here, I think it was at the table of the Torn Bannermen that they called for reinforcements, and that's what they were waiting for. They were waiting for reinforcements before they did a second assault on the castle. So I'm expecting out here, just as we're about to leave, we'll run into a whole lot of assholes, right? We'll see. Maybe. Maybe we'll beat them there, and when we go talk to the steward... Oh, we should definitely absolutely talk to the steward, our favorite chair, and tell her what the hell is going on. She may be interested to know that Consulhot turned out to be a major asshole, and just wanted to, you know, suck my soul and use it to live forever.
Yeah?
Too bad, you know, me having a Watcher soul doesn't also just mean, like, I live forever. That'd be pretty dope. That'd be pretty rad. I wouldn't mind that. Let's see. Can we just straight up navigate down there? Just quick save real quick. Once it shows up down here, we'll just straight up right click all... Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Anything good? Yeah, it looks like it's... Alright, fine, yeah, sure. I was expecting totally to just run into some more dudes. But it looks like it is totally, absolutely clear. Look, we'll actually even just forego going down there. We'll just leave right here. Why the heck not, right? Alright, Kednua, here we come. We're gonna rest up there, buy some more supplies, and we'll be on our way to the final quest, I think. But, of course, before then, we'll do a shitload of reading. We'll do a shitload. That way we're up to snuff for any major decisions that we have to make at the end of this. Because I don't want to go into this unprepared. I mean, even if I make the wrong decision, or like a decision that has a negative outcome, at least I'll have a lot of information. That way I can at least, I'm not like shooting at shadows or whatever the heck you would say. Alright.
Last thing the Deerwood needs
First things
is
first, let's
another
rest.
foreign colony.
Perception, always good. I mean, we could do resolve and bolster up our low parts for my main character. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do a resolve rest. Let's do it. Chapel rest. There we go.
Just say the word.
Let's head on into the castle. We'll grab up some goodies, talk to a chair, read some books, have a good damn time. Oh, mercenary captain is here. Jeez. I don't know, for whatever reason I just assumed that all the guards had died already from some horrific thing. But no, they're still hanging out. We're still just making a steady income of money, which is alright. Interesting that no matter what, you always lose money to bandits. A little unfortunate. I wish it would at least give you the numbers. I mean, I'm fine losing money to bandits every single time. That's okay.
Ready when you are.
Because you know, once you get to a certain size, that's just like a realistic thing to expect. Like, how difficult would it be to perfectly manage something? I mean, if this were like a management sim, then sure. But otherwise, you know, I'm okay with losing out some shit. But I would love to see the math on it.
Gods keep you.
All right, let's see. Show me what you got. Show me what you're working with. Grab some supplies. Let's see, if we just... Yeah, there we go. All right, yeah, we don't even have to select one. Just quicker to do it that way. Should we deposit some shit? I mean, Our inventory is crowded as hell, but yeah, we really don't. Oh, look, the Iron Clasp. Yeah, I totally forgot to put a few new spells on Aloth. Alright, well, let's first talk to the steward. What do you have to say? Anything?
I trust all is well. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
Questions? Let's see. No? Alright, I don't have any more questions. State of the keep. Okay, yeah, and that just brings up the dialogue. Alright, fair enough. Well, for now, we're just going to, I suppose, read up a bit, and in between videos, at the end, if in case you want to skip this early and just skip to the next one, you don't care about all the reading of history of the land and all that, we will, I'll be in front of the Court of Stars, is it called? The Court of the Penitents, something or the other fuck? Yeah, Court of the Penitents, Council of Stars, one or the other. Yeah, there we go, Court, yeah, because we have to, remember, we have to pledge to a god. I'm really thinking that we're gonna go with Barath. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, for now, oh, and also, hopefully I'll finally remember to give Aloth a couple new spells from Consul Hot's grimoire. Now, let's see. We have some books that are worth reading. Look, we'll actually deposit that real quick. Let's see here. Bring these up. And let's see. These are just book-ass books, right? Yes, they are. They're completely unsorted, though. So let's do item type, and it should do alphabetical order. Yeah, there we are. Let's see. The Deerwood, Part 1, Early Colonial History. I think when we first got one of these, we did a situation where we said, you know what? When we get all of these, then we'll read them. And you know what? It's finally come to that. We finally have all parts. Well, I'd assume so. We have 6 parts. Let's see. Yeah. Are there any other good ones? There may be. We'll first read these. The Deerwood Part 1, or Part 1 through 6. Alright, Early Colonial History. Let's see. And remember, from the Edir Empire book, it told about how the Deerwood separated through war from the Edir Empire, thanks to Hadmit Hadrit, or Admith Hadrit? Yeah. Separated from the First King, or who was it? Yeah, First King. The Fair Koning. Okay. Let's see. Early colonial history. No other land has such a wild and bloody recent history. From colony to Palatinate, to Free Republic, the Deerwood has undergone a trial by fire to emerge as a powerful force in the Eastern Reach. Deerwood's history actually begins in Edir in 2602 AI. Edir explorers returned from a journey across the ocean with tales of the treasures they'd found. They discovered countless ruins scattered through the forests, as well as plains to the north of the trees that would be perfect for growing Vorlas. Once again with the Vorlas. And these ruins, as we know, are the Ingwithan ruins that they plundered all the ancient artifacts from. There was a problem, however. The locals were hostile, and there was potential for conflict. We're just going to always call him First King from now on. Fuck that. The First King of Edir knew that this was too good an opportunity to pass up, and sent more explorers to scout and map the area. Exploration continued over the next 20 years. Small groups of explorers traveled back and forth between Edir and this new world, with a handful of colonists setting up small camps to establish a base for the explorers to work out of. Conflicts with the locals, who Edirans learned are called the Glanfathans, were rare, but frequent enough for the First King to send a small squadron of guards to help protect his citizens. These guards established a central base on a river in the western section of the woods. This settlement would eventually become the city of Deerford, upon which the modern-day village of the same name is presently built. Once that base was established, the permanent Ediran settlements began north and west of the Bale River. Over the next 3 years, thousands of Edirans made the trek from Edir to this new land. Man, there's a lot of similarities between the Deerwood and modern day, well, not modern day, but America. The Americas, jeez. It's not a perfect one-to-one, but you kind of see where they're drawing inspiration from. The Glanfathans, who seem to revere the ruins scattered through the forest, caused a few problems with some of the settlements. especially those founded near the ruins themselves. These were easily taken care of by the colonists with the help of the Imperial Guard. The Adirans, in order to further their foothold in the area, reduced the cost of production, and in an attempt to keep the Glanfathan population under control, started making slaves out of any Glanfathans captured during the uprisings. This resulted in a great increase in tension between the two groups. With the population of the area growing, an official governmental structure was established by the first king. He appointed several earls to preside over the land and assigned them thanes to help run their territories, and they called the new Greyfram the Deerwood. Deerford remained the center for the Imperial Guard, but the settlement in Pearlwood Gulf, New Dunreed, was the true seat of power for the area. Oh, I bet that's Defiance Bay. Because remember Pearlwood Bluffs? Well, Defiance Bay is in a gulf, right? That probably becomes Defiance Bay. Sitting at the edge of the ocean, forest, fertile farmland, and a river that runs from the coast to the White Marsh, settlers flocked to the area, hoping to establish names for themselves. Edir began to spread across the new land. All right. Let's see. Part 2. The Broken Stone War. In 2626 AI, a group of farmers, while clearing farmland for planting, accidentally knocked down one of the ancient Adra menhirs on their land. This innocent act drew the ire of the native population, and started what would come to be known as the Broken Stone War. When it was finally over, several thousand colonists have been killed, as well as hundreds of the Glanfathans. Even though the war was technically over, the Glanfathans escalated their attacks on the settlers over the next 2 years using vicious tactics that left many colonists, several military figures, an earl, and 6 thanes dead. Unable to stop the Glanfathan attacks, the earls elected Earl Edrang Hadrit to the position of Grave. Well respected and known to be a master of military tactics, he was tasked with dealing with the Glanfathan threat. Edrang fought with the Glanfathans, led by an Orlan named Rejd, for the next 2 years. Neither side can gain the upper hand on the other, resulting in a tense stalemate between the two groups. Because of this stalemate, the hostilities slowly died off, and in 2631, the Deerwooden people signed a treaty with the Glanfathans. Rejd would step down. The Glanfathans would stop their attacks altogether, and the Deerwooden people would leave the ruins alone. This treaty angered the nobility in Edir, as it brought to a halt the supply of artifacts. Edrang also tried to get the practice of slavery outlawed, but this was not successful. Because of this, the peace between the Deerwood and Air Glanfath is uneasy and tumultuous. Small patches of rural violence still cropped up, but were easily dealt with, as neither side wanted another war. Alright, the Deerwood Part 3, the War of Black Trees and the Rise of Admeth Hadrit. So this is the guy who fully separates from the Empire. After the Broken Stone War, the Deerwood would see peace and prosperity for 21 years. Aside from the occasional slave uprising or border dispute, nothing of any note happened until 2652 AI. Some of the Deerwooden earls, tired of being restricted by the treaties and encouraged by imperial sources, defied the decrees and actively sent people to loot the ruins in the Deerwood. Response from the Glanfathans was not immediate, but when it came, it was brutal and bloody. There was a slave uprising, and Rejd resumed control of his guerrilla fighters. A contingent of Delumgan, joined the forces as well, making the fights in the forest even more deadly for the Deerwooden soldiers. Edrang, then far too old to lead Deerwood in the war, sent his son, Admeth, to deal with the situation. Admeth, showing the same tactical prowess as his father, set fire to the forest at the Ishwar River, and then blocks the forces retreating from the inferno. Fuck me. Some of the Glanfathans escape, but thousands would die in the blaze. Rejd is captured and sent to holding in New Haomar. This goes on for several months, and Admeth uses the same tactic many times to flush Glanfalans and Dilamgan from the battlefield. The entire war lasts less than a year. The Deerwood eventually wins, but at a terrible price. This conflict would come to be known as the War of Black Trees, right? Because they burned down fuckloads of forests and all the fucking people and everything inside of them. Jesus Christ. Tragedy struck the Deerwood in 2654, when a Drang, whose health had been waning, succumbed and passed into the cycle. Rejd, who had developed a begrudging respect for his constant adversary over the years they had fought, sent Admeth his sincere condolences from captivity in New Haomar. Admeth assumed his father's place as grave over the Deerwood. The other earls disliked this development and began publicly rebuking Admeth's decrees. In 2655 AI, Admeth, tired of the problems caused by the recalcitrant earls, but having support of the new Valiant dukes and the common folk of Deerwood, having saved them from the Glanfalans, delivers an ultimatum to the first king of Edir. He demands to be made a grave palatine. This move would give him authority and power over all the earls, their holdings, and their titles. Deerwood would become a palatinate instead of a grave from. The first king, who did not want to have to deal with a rebellion while trying to establish a hold on the Vorless trade network in Raid Saris, begrudgingly agreed to Admeth's demands. Admeth would use this new power to bring all the earls in line. As a trade-off for being given the power, Admeth put money and resources into all of the Deerwood's ports to increase shipping traffic. In turn, this increased the First King's income. Under Admeth's rule, the Deerwood saw 7 productive and profitable years. In 2662 AI, he did what had been tried for many years without success, bringing slavery to an end in the Deerwood. He negotiated the 10 Years' Treaties, so called because it has been 10 years since the War of the Black Trees. A timeline was established in which the slaves will be released. The owners would be compensated with money or land for each slave released. If they did not comply, the slaves would be taken, and a fine will be levied against the owner. In return, the Glanfalans would open trade with the Deerwood and cede some of their territories to the Deerwooden government, in practice meaning they would stop contesting the presence of those who lived and ruled there. Hundreds of Coopers attempted to rebel against this. Admeth, expecting just such a reaction, reacted accordingly, and the rebellion was quickly crushed. His agents then spread propaganda through the populace, making the Coopers' rebellion and its instigators seem far worse than they truly were. This tactic worked, and there would be no more trouble. Man, holy shit, Admeth had quite the fucking life from the beginning, going out into war, doing all this crazy shit, and then doing all these treaties and ruling. My god, could have been like a protagonist of his own game. Alright, the Deerwood Part 4, Hadrit's Rebellion. The rural communities loved Admeth Hadrit, considering him the best leader they'd ever had. In Edir, the first king rankled against his usurpations of imperial authority, but no longer had the necessary power to truly undo anything that had happened. 2 years later, in 2664 AI, the first king found allies willing to explore the ruins against the treaty conditions, and plundered them for their artifacts. This was done discreetly at first, but they eventually became careless. The agents were discovered and arrested. Man, this is the 3rd time that they just could not fucking resist the treaty, huh? And they got careless and they got fucking caught. The agents were discovered and arrested, but there was no evidence pointing back to the first king. Admeth, suspecting the truth, used Glanfalan Brüsselgwyn mind hunters, the progenitors of modern-day ciphers, to investigate the matter further. Oh shit, the thought police. With this method of interrogation, he discovered a chain of evidence all the way back to the first king. While he investigated, many rural communities suffered retaliatory attacks by Glanfathans. Yeah, and of course the rural communities are pissed at the fucking king pulling this shit because they're the ones who are suffering. The king gets fat and rich stealing these artifacts from the Glanfathans, and obviously the Glanfathans are real fucking mad, and the Glanfathans blame it on anybody who is of Deerwood. And so fucking the rural communities get totally fucked over, even though they had probably almost nothing to do in it. Alright, armed with this new information, Admeth worked with Galvin Maedhra, the new leader of the Glanfathans, and the rural communities of the Deerwood to prevent the First King's agents from entering the ruins. There was a back and forth between the two groups, both sides engaging in various political, economic, and military maneuvers to try and gain the upper hand. The First King was at a disadvantage in this game, though, as he preferred to assert his authority without causing an uprising. Eventually, Admeth had enough. He convinced 7 of the 9 earls to join him, and they severed their allegiances to the First King, declaring themselves independent and decree they would govern themselves, just as the Valian republics did 20 years prior. Oh, okay, so the Valian republics was from the Edir Empire. They didn't actually touch on this in this book, which makes sense because this is for Deerwood. Admeth told the people he had tired of politics that made the nobles rich while putting the people of the Deerwood at risk. Right, yeah, just as we said. He declared himself a duke, again modeled after the Valian Republic's governing structure, and called the Deerwood a free palatinate. Jesus. Thus began the War of Defiance in 2668 AI. Now, let's pause here and recognize that going on right now in modern times, it seems as though they're trying to get in, eventually I can see this, yeah, because getting in the good graces, the Deerwood getting in the good graces of the Valian Republic, right? And obviously we can tell that because in Defiance Bay, there's a whole bunch of Valians there, they have an embassy, and the whole quest line with fucking, Palagina involves the same exact bullshit happening again, doesn't it? For the fourth time, not with the Edir Empire, though, but between the Deerwood and the Valian Republic trying to get bullshit done behind everybody's back. That's inevitably going to fuck them over. However, in Palagina's questline, we made an executive decision to say, no, fuck the Valian Republic, and it may cost Palagina her job and her status, but hey, Palagina has always got a spot with Old Team Watcher. Anyway, the war lasted 4 years and caused countless casualties, including Admeth himself. The Deerwoodens, with their Glanfathan allies, were able to persevere. Glanfathan astrologers, alongside the Deerwooden forces and members of the ad hoc Knights of the Crucible Militia, won the Battle of Defiance Bay, which became the last battle of the war and left Deerwood free from Ediran imperial rule. 7 of the 9 earls of the Deerwood survived, and, unified in purpose, signed treaties with the First King of Edir. The war gave the Deerwood a greater sense of unity between its citizens and their Glanfathan allies. Admeth Hadrit was revered by both groups, and the Deerwood enjoyed the first time in a nationwide fellowship of independence, perseverance, and sacrifice. Yenwood, we've been there, and Schweisrun were dissolved and incorporated into the surrounding earldoms. So that would be Cadnua, maybe? Leaving 7. Hellsgate, The Grasp, Tenfers, Norwich, Coldwater, Ashfall, and Balereach. New Dunreed was named Defiance Bay, and would become the seat of power for the new Duke in Balereach. The new Duke's rule began in 2672 AI. Wow, alright. Let's see, Part 5. The Proliferation of Animancy. Animancy, outlawed while under Edir rule, was technically no longer taboo after Hadrit's rebellion. academics began its study again in earnest in 2681 AI. By 2697 AI, there were almost 40 academics actively researching the field, both in the Deerwood and the Vailian republics. Even though no significant results had been discovered, a tragic breakthrough of sorts happened in 2704 AI. An animancer working in Balereach accidentally shattered the souls of about a dozen volunteers who had been helping him. Is that the same one that we heard about in a different book? At Consul Huts? Because that didn't sound like too much of an accident. It paints the animancer in a much better light. I wonder if that's the same guy or if that's a different guy. In retaliation for the deaths, the citizens of the area stormed his house and killed him. The Earl of the region, not wanting to waste resources or anger the locals any more than they already were, did nothing to find the head of the vigilante mob. But neither did he outlaw animancy. To ensure their own safety, most animancers moved from the rural areas where they were studying and settled in Defiance Bay, many of them choosing the emerging and wealthy district of Brackenbury as their new home of operations, hence the sanitarium there that we had visited. While there were still a few breakthroughs and the study of animancy continued for the next 24 years, it quickly slowed as it became cost prohibitive and complicated the more people learned about it. Most animancers couldn't afford to continue research without the support of donations or gifts from wealthy individuals and organizations. In 2737 AI, some animancers, desperate to continue their studies and seeing no other means of furthering their research, entered the forbidden ruins of Erglonfath to further their research. People just can't fucking keep away from those ruins, can they? They discovered, in all things said and done, neither could we. I'm pretty sure we went up in there a whole lot and did a whole bunch of bullshit. We're guilty of it too, aren't we? They discovered some such sites had strange artifacts that seemed to bear affinity to soul essence, and began to prod at the devices for further insight. Even with continued research, they are unable to tell quite what they have discovered. Eventually, they were found out by the Glonfathans, who captured them, demanding they be punished for their crimes. The Deerwooden authorities, in order to maintain their treaties and keep the peace, had no choice. They allowed the animancers to be executed, according to Glonfathan tradition. This led the Duke to make an additional proclamation. The study and practice of animancy on or even near the sacred Glonfathan sites would be punishable by death. That is harsh, but I think fair. How many times have they said to keep away from the ruins? They knew what they were getting into. They should have expected that some bad shit would go down if they got caught. In 2780 AI, in order to solidify relations again with the Glonfathans, the Deerwooden government allowed some animancers to begin training and experiments in conjunction with the Glonfathan mind hunters, their native ciphers. This was an exchange of information. The animancers documented the secrets of the mind hunters' powers. The mind hunters learned new techniques for concentration, which assisted them in taking their powers to a level no Glonfathan had seen before. The ciphers, no longer wary of the animancers' intentions, trusted them to such a level that they convinced the Glonfathans to give some animancers limited access to some of the training sites where the Glonfathans practiced. The Onamphas of the Glonfathan tribes opened the training grounds to the animancers. They were not allowed inside, as this was still strictly forbidden, but the general allowances by the Glonfathans were seen as a breakthrough in relations between Deerwood and Glonfath. Over the next 8 years, the animancers' research would continue unimpeded. With the exception of some minor squabbles, there has been no major strife between the two groups in almost 120 years since. Wow. Until recently, right? Part 6. The Deerwood Part 6, The Saints' War, and Widewind's legacy. Now, this is a problem that is directly addressed in this game, right? I mean, all these other ones were things that were leading up, the causes and the reasoning for why things were in such a state, right? And this is the sort of the direct problem that we're solving the remnants of. In 2807 AI, war returned to the Deerwood. It never changes, does it? Saint Widewind transformed supposedly into a living incarnation of Aethys, marched on the Deerwood from Raid Saris, beginning the Saints' War. The Deerwood rallied at Halgut's citadel and took the battle to him in Raid Saris, attempting to prevent as much damage to their own land as they could. Even though there were devastating losses for the Deerwooden forces, using Hadrit's military techniques combined with Galvin Reg's strategies, they were able to secure a few victories for themselves as well. Raid Sarin forces made their way into the Deerwood through White March, unopposed by the locals at Cold Morn. Hey, we know about Cold Morn, and how they were unopposed there. That's related to, isn't that exactly the same town? Or maybe it's nearby, that, the devil of Karak is from, right? Like, yeah, holy shit, that was exactly it. Like, they came back, supposedly unopposed by the locals, but they totally fucked them over when they came through, didn't they? Maybe I'm misremembering that, but that ties in directly to the Devil of Karak's story. Anyway, leaving Mercy Vale burned and devastated, the contempt the Deerwoodens have for Cold Morn for this betrayal lasts well after the war ends. Right, exactly. That's exactly how it went down. It was that contempt that they had that made them fuck over Cold Morn. Desperate to end the war and eliminate St. Widewind, the Magronic clergy of Deerwood developed a special bomb that was hidden beneath the bridge at Halgot's citadel. Now, of course, this is the Godhammer bomb that Durrance is always going on about, and that he was a direct part in, intending to lure Widewind to the bridge and then detonate it. Their ploy succeeded, and St. Widewind was completely destroyed, along with most of the forces with him, and the entire bridge. The 12 Deerwooden men and women who volunteered to delay St. Widewind on the bridge were also lost, except for one. Their sacrifice and martyrdom celebrated by the Deerwood in the ensuing years. The bomb would come to be known as the Godhammer, and soon after the battle, the citadel was renamed Godhammer Citadel. St. Widewind's forces were easily routed after his death, and the Deerwood set about rebuilding from the first major conflict in over a century. In retaliation for St. Widewind's actions on Aethys' part, many Aethasian followers were purged from Deerwooden communities or driven out via social pressure, right? And these are the purges we always hear about. Less than a year after the devastation of the Saints' War, tragedy hit again. In 2809 AI, the first Hollowborn was reported in the Deerwood. Now this, as we have learned, has to do with the Leaden Key we don't know exactly what they're doing with the souls yet, but they're keeping the souls. Many of the Hollowborn was reported in the Deerwood. Many of these poor creatures died within weeks or months of being born. The outcry from the populace calls for blame or punishment be leveled against someone, whether it be the gods, the mothers, the government, or the Aethasian followers. Responding to great socio-political pressure to try and help the Hollowborn, Animancers developed a process to transplant animal souls into the infants, that they might develop survival instincts and even a basic personality. The process seemed successful, so it was repeated on tens of thousands of Hollowborn, even though many Animancers disagreed with the technique, worried about the ethical implications. These protests were largely ignored and discounted. The process was soon named Salvation. The Hollowborn given souls this way were called the Saved. 5 years after the first Hollowborn, an Orlan girl is saved. She entered puberty. In a matter of mere weeks, she transformed into a ravenous, feral creature devoid of all conscience. Soon, all of the saved would experience the same fate. Each one, upon reaching puberty, would transform into what the locals called wicts, uncontrollable children. After researching the problem, animancers discovered an incompatibility between the animal souls and the children's bodies. This fueled the parents' anger, as many of them had to kill their wicked children. The animancers responsible were widely denounced, and many of them were dragged from their homes, beaten, and in many cases, killed. Most surviving animancers left the rural areas en masse and headed to Defiance Bay. Others left the area completely, moving to the Valian republics to study in peace. Wow, holy shit! Man, so we've learned a whole lot of shit. We know essentially the entirety of what exactly is going on here, right? Let's see, are there any other books that we should read? One last book, any of them? 10 Years Dawn? Now, we've read about that. Let's see, Abaddon's Hands, Admeth Hadrit. Yeah, we read about this, right? Yeah. Maybe that's why we were so familiar with fucking, whatever his name is, Admeth. Yeah. I mean, maybe we didn't read this, and that's just more specifics, but I feel like we don't need to read it because we know the generalities of it now. A whole bunch of Adiran bullshit. Barathian scripture. Should we read this? Oh, no, wait, we've read that before. Book of the Hunt. Yeah, these are one of the books that, like, each god or goddess or whatever is given one book, like, dedicated to them. Shit about the Crucible Knights. Idrang Hadrit only has one book, whereas Admeth has so many. Huh. But like I said, just as with Admeth, we know the gist of it. Excerpts from the Sermon of Struggle, Final Journal of Jonas. Oh look, there's even a book on Reged. Huh. Fascinating. Alright, let's see. Missives of the Hand Occult. Monsters of the Deadfire Archipelago. Oh, I remember we read this a long time ago. All of those things will definitely be in the sequel, won't they? Let's see. Nasatak Poetry. Psalm to Woodica. Yeah, we read that underneath Defiance Bay. Selected Correspondences of Giftbringer Iden. Oh yeah, we read that too. Giftbringer Iden we actually met. Or we met a Giftbringer. I don't know if it was Iden. Saint Widewin, Farmer Become God. Huh. Yeah, I think we actually did read this. This is one of the first things that we read. Or books, I should say. Let's see, the Dozens. That's the history we just read. Calendar. Oh, that was for White March stuff. Life and Discoveries of Pongrum. Yeah, we just recently read that. Let's see, a play. Raid Saren Morality play. Oh yeah, we actually did read that. The Many Faces of Barath. Did we read this? I know we read that little short poem about Barath, but did we read this? Because I'm pretty much set on reading about Barath. Or siding with Barath now. The Moons of Eora, The Queen That Was and Still Is, The Saints' War, Part 1, Overthrow. Oh, we only have Part 1. Huh. I'm surprised that we don't have a Part 2 by now. Let's see. What's over in here? Looks like mostly journals and stuff. I mean, we know essentially what went down in the Saints' War, don't we? These 6 volumes really told us, in general, what we need to know. Let's see, is this anything important? Widewind's rule was virtually uncontested. Initially, this was because everyone was awed. You know what, we should probably read this, because this is important too. Like, even if it's details, these details could be valuable. In fact, it's such a shame that we don't have Part 2, honestly. Alright. Do we actually have a library here? I don't believe we do. Oh, yeah, we do have, like, a library, but they only sell scrolls, don't they? Alright. So, yeah, I feel like there's going to be a shitload of choices revolving around the Saints' War when we have have our final showdown with Theos, right? So I think it's a good idea that we also brush up on this. There is much debate with historians as to when the Saints' War really began. It is widely accepted that the event that instigated it was the sanctuary flight of Readceren's citizens to the Deerwood. This led to direct strife between the two nations that escalated into battle, the Saints' War. But it is the author's opinion that the war truly started many years before. After the miracle of the verdant Vorlas... Oh shit, more about Vorlas! What is Vorlas? As it came to be known, Weidwin quickly gathered followers, drawn to the stories of Aethys' miraculous prophet. His powers grew. Eventually, Weidwin had gathered enough support that he confronted the imperial governor. Assisted by a collection of knights and nobles who had been swayed to his cause, he marched on the capital city. The governor was allowed to live. Oh, right, remember, this is what Eddar's brother was talking about. He went there to meet him. The governor was allowed to live, but was forced to abdicate power and leave the colony. This was not from any understanding or easy acquiescence from the governor, but because of what happened. When Weidwin entered the governor's palace, as Weidwin approached the governor, according to accounts, his body turned into something that was no longer human. His flesh became luminescent and his head transformed into pure blinding light. Right, and we know that is absolutely true from using our Watcher ability on Eddar's brother, right? Or a relic from Eddar's brother. Other accounts suggest that Weidwin had become a being of light at an earlier time, when he was whipped in the public square. The outcome of his visit to the palace, however, is uncontested. The governor, knowing there was no way he could oppose an avatar of Aethys, relinquished his power. The people then asked Weidwin to lead the colony. He accepted, earning him the name Divine King of Readceres. Weidwin's rule was virtually uncontested. Initially, this was because everyone was awed that a god had chosen to manifest himself and lead his people. Right, because the gods hadn't hardly done jack shit until now. Like, the rest of it was, like, ancient shit that had happened with, like, Abaddon and Andra and all that bullshit way back. But of the entire founding of the Deerwood and the Eddar Empire going around, and all those centuries, the gods never did jack shit. Or at least as far as we know. Anyway, he accepted, earning him the name Divine King of Readceres. Weidwin's rule was virtually uncontested. Initially, this was because everyone was awed that a god had chosen to manifest himself and lead his people. This changed as Weidwin began punishing the allies of the Old Empire and the poison on the world, what he considered corrupt churches or church leaders of Aethys. Scrutiny escalated, and soon worshippers of Aethys were also being punished for mere perceptions of heresy. Members of other religions were also added to the list of the persecuted for following different faiths. This caused large segments of the population to flee Readceres for the Deerwood, begging for sanctuary. Shit! So even people of Aethasian faith, who weren't of a direct, like, specific kind of Aethasian, they were persecuted as well. Man! So it wasn't just other people who worshipped the other gods, it was even Aethasians, if they weren't directly in line with their dogma. This caused strife between the two nations. The people of the Deerwood knew that they could not sustain explosive population growth if Weidwin's rule were to continue unchecked. They also feared that his eye would turn from Readceres and land on them next if nothing was done. This was exactly what ultimately happened. An open war broke out as Weidwin moved to spread his dominion into the lands of Deerwood. And that's when old fucking Durrance showed up and stopped him. But now you'll notice that Durrance is actually having second thoughts about having stopped Aethys, which in and of itself is like a big fucking moral quandary because, yeah, it seemed like Aethys in marching was maybe doing a good thing, but all this other shit beforehand was bad as shit. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of moral gray area, isn't there? Alright, well, holy shit. This concludes the reading hour. Like I said, when next we come back, we will be at the court of the penitent or whatever the hell to pledge ourselves to Barath. We'll hopefully have old Aloth set up and ready to go. And Jeez, I guess we'll fucking wrap this sucker up, won't we? Till next time, peace.